papercrafty friends, it's Diane the Creative Inkster. Today is Monday, October 11th, and it's Monday, October the 10th. Long weekend here in Canada. Happy Thanksgiving. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. It was beautiful weather here in Ontario. Beautiful and sunny, a little cool at times, and certainly cool if you were in the shade, but otherwise it was just absolutely gorgeous. And what more could we have asked for Thanksgiving? We do love our holiday weekends and enjoying the last bit of summer weather. And to just segue from there, we're going to make a Christmas card tonight. So thanks for popping by. Please leave me a comment that you're here. Hi, Diane. Thanks for stepping in and popping by. And happy Thanksgiving to you and your family, too. So if you're watching live, let me know. If you're watching the replay, just leave me a little note there because I like to catch up and check in and see what you thought of the live broadcast. I was going to try something new that I am toying with, which is called StreamYard, to stream out to Facebook. And I got a little bit along there, but then I couldn't get all the things to work the way I wanted. So I thought, well, tonight's not the night to do that. Let's just try what we're used to, what we're comfortable with, and then we'll work on it. It's a process. So this is called the Criss pocket card, and this is how it looks. So it's a card that stands up against something. It doesn't have a backing. You could most definitely add another layer that made this stand up, but it's designed to open and then you pull your pocket piece out. So you can put a large message on here, you could stamp something, you could add your gift card in there. It's a cute little pocket, and I'm excited to show you how to make it. And when you look at the measurements, they are a little off from what we normally do when we do a layer on a layer, and that's because we're going to glue the pocket flaps in, and so we need to account for some adhesive being here, and so this is a little shorter than usual when it goes in. Oh goodness, there's my note right there, and here I was rewriting it tonight going, gotta double check that measurement because I want to make sure it's right. Alrighty, let's not take up any more time and let's get started. So we're going to start with a piece of regular cardstock. This is real red. It is 8.5 by 11. I'm going to cut it in half this way at 4 1/4. So I'm going to have two pieces of 4 1/4 by 11. Alrighty, and we're going to take those two pieces and we're going to score them both at 5.5. Just like we always do for a half card. Both of these pieces are going to make the same card. They're going to go together to make the card. I'm going to show you two different ways that I've done this in the past. Okay, so we have our 11-inch side here. We've scored it at 5.5 in the middle. We can fold that, but before we do, we're going to snip off a corner of it. So it really doesn't matter, because we're using the same color of cardstock, it doesn't matter if you cut them on the diagonal and they don't look right, you need to flip them over because it's the same paper, you just keep flipping it. Hi! Oh, spent with your granddaughter making Christmas cards. How Canadian is that? That's wonderful, Brenda. I'm glad you had some time with your granddaughter. That's exciting. So this is here at 5.5. So from that top score mark down to the bottom, we're going to slice off a little triangle. So to do that, I stick the right end point in my trimmer, and then I slide this up so that I can see the top of the score line up there. And when I can see them both nice and neat in the trimmer, then I go ahead and slice it off. Okay, so we have this triangle left over. You can use it for something else. Don't throw it away. It's certainly useful. So we've got a piece like this. There's our score line if you were trying to keep track of where the score line was. Now we're going to do the same thing on the other piece. Once again, you don't have to worry if you don't cut the right angle. We can fix it. I don't think you can mess this up. So from that score mark down to the bottom right triangle, we're doing exactly the same thing. Okay, another piece we can keep for something else. So we have two triangle ends like this. All right, let's do our other cutting before we get too far along. So we need a piece of, in this case, I'm going to use shaded spruce. That's my back piece here for the pocket, and it measures 5 1/4 I'm just cutting it off a piece that I had in my bin. 5 1/4 by 3 3/4. A little different measurement than we're used to. Don't worry, I double checked it to make sure that was right. And we'll check it up against the finished one. Perfect. And then our piece of white is going to be 5 1/8. So that's 2 little tick marks. Oops, I want to do it this way. 5 1/8. I didn't want a whole bunch of waste. By 3 5/8. So it's just a little bit smaller than our shaded spruce, so that it mats on there. Just a nice thin matting like that. Okie dokie. All right, so we're going to set those aside, and we're going to cut our pattern paper. So what I've done is grabbed a bigger piece than I need. I want it to be 5 1/4 by 4, but we're going to cut it in half, and if I'm not happy with the other side, I might need 2 pieces. Because I have a lot of this paper, I'm not worried about that too much. Okay, so this is 5 1/4 by 4, and we have one more bit of trimming, and that's to take this guy and cut it on the diagonal from corner to corner. It doesn't matter if you go this way or you go this way, it's corner to corner. You can't mess this up. This is your standard 5 1/4 by 4. All right, so we have 2 triangles left. We're going to flip one over. So this is where you might be like loving it or not loving it, however the pattern shows up. So on my original card that I had done on the weekend, this is the back of this. And so that kind of lined up nice. But if you had something that was specifically directional, you'd want to be careful about how you cut this to make it turn out. All right, that's all our cutting done. So let's move this out the way. Now you need your bone folder. And you're going to take these funky looking red pieces, or your card base pieces, and you're just going to fold on that original score line that we made. Okay, and burnish that nicely so that it stays down, and do the same with the other one. Fold and burnish. Now this is what we want to end up with, is that our rectangles are in the middle. We're going to glue them together, and our 2 outside edges are going to be like this. Right, so that's just as a marker for when you're folding it in. But if you cut it the other side from the other angle, it's okay. You can just flip it over and glue it another way. So I've done a couple of things with this card. I've glued the backs together like I'm showing you on this particular card, and then I've glued the sides down and made the actual pocket. I've also not glued the sides down and either put paper or ribbon around as a belly band so that the person could open it still, and then it would stand up on the table. Kind of depends on what I'm using it for, but I want to show you the pocket and wanted to give you the options. So we want to glue these base rectangles together so that the 2 outside flaps will come in. So we're going to add some adhesive to the one on the left. Now this card I have made before, but I saw it in our September tutorial bundle. And I'd have to go and look to see who designed it, because we don't take notice of that. We call it the TLC, Cooperative Bundle, the Library of Creativity, and Diane, who's on this call, is also a member of that. And what we do is we each provide a tutorial card a month, and we share that with our friends and customers and team members. It's just a fun way to get other ideas. And so I had not done this in a little while, so I was really pleased to have the tutorial card come up, and I thought it's time to resurrect this idea. All right, so what we now want to do to make the pocket part is to glue the bottoms of our triangles down. And what I would recommend is you can use liquid glue or tear and tape. And I'm using tear and tape, or I guess Stampin' Seal, but tear and tape is only 1/4 inch wide. And so I'm going to use this because I know how high up it's going to go, and my card pocket is going to fit in just perfectly. So I'm putting it along the bottom of the funky triangle shape, right as close to the edge as I can sort of get it. You could liquid glue it. It would just take a little bit of time to dry, and you want to make sure that it's dry before you go sticking something in there as the pocket. So I'm going to pull the right side in first, and I'm going to glue it down, and I'm going to give it a little press with my bone folder again. And now is the time to put the designer series paper on. I didn't do that with the first one. I actually put the designer series paper after, and it looks just fine. But I think this is the idea, is that you would put your designer series paper, then glue this down, and then put your other designer series paper. And that way you would see this edge, which if you have a contrast here, you'll see your red edge. You see how you've got your red edge down here? Whereas on my one that I did here, there you don't see the edge because I glued my designer series paper after. So I'm going to go for something probably the way it was designed or intended. All right, so let's glue this guy down. This paper is really pretty. It's called Boughs of Holly, and it is in the July to December mini catalog. And the one that I've really been working with the most for holiday projects. Alrighty, so I'm going to put this on, and I know it shows a lot of red against red, but I'm going for having an equal border all the way around. So I have a little equal red border all the way around. Now it's time to peel this part off over here. Sure. Take your pick tool usually works, but I have my scissors handy. So I take my tear and tape backing off, and then I fold this guy over, and it's going to tend to, at least for me, pull up a little bit. I want to get that straight against the edge. Give it another press with the bone folder. And now I'm going to put this one on here. So it's good that I used a non-directional type sort of splash of color versus something that's quite defined. That can go horribly wrong. You end up with your flowers upside down and things like that. I once did that with a shower curtain. I bought 2 of them, as I often do, and I cut one down to make a drape or a little curtain for my bathroom that matched my shower curtain. Only I realized that I cut it upside down and sewed it up, and I forget what was on there, flowers or greenery or something, and they were upside down. I don't think anybody noticed, just me. Alrighty, so now we have our 2 pieces down there. We've got our wee pocket. Now we're ready to decorate and put this part together. And what I've often done before too with the white is I've stamped on the white at the top so that something, a greeting shows through there. I'm going to do a couple of things to decorate this. You can keep it super duper simple with a large greeting like I've done on my sample card here. And just with the wishing you all the beautiful gifts of Christmas with some embellishments, just pretty simple. Or we can jazz it up a little, which I'm going to try to go for here. So this is going to slide in. You see this pocket, because it's just a little bit smaller than the standard size that fits in here, it's a good match. So now that I've got it in, I've got a visual on how much I can fit over here. So I'm grabbing my Peaceful Deer stamp set, and what I want to do is I've got a couple of circles, just some scraps that I turned into circles. I want them to go on the front, and then I'm going to, with my leftover white, stamp the deer, color him in, or her in maybe, and then add to the front here. But I thought I'd put maybe something here. What could I put? Let's see. Oh, it's the best time of year. That's really pretty. And it kind of covers, it's not too tall of a greeting. And it's one I probably haven't used much out of this set. This set was in the catalog last year and came back. So, woohoo, we get to use it again. It's the best time of year. So I have learned from experience that I probably should ink this up and have done it before I glued the two pieces together, but that's okay. I'm fine with that. I can go in and be dangerous, live life on the edge. It's the best time of year, going for centering. And because it's photopolymer, it's fairly easy to see. And voila, that worked out fairly nicely. Gotta be happy with that. So that's that stamp. And then next, I think I will grab my deer that I'm going to stamp and punch out. And this is the deer builder punch. It even has antlers, and I guess that's the red nose. I never thought of that before. I've not actually used that. And so I'm going to color with my Stampin' Blends. They're crumb cake. And I probably will want to mention that you want to use Memento ink if you are using some Stampin' Blends, because the blends are alcohol based and the Memento is water based, and so it's a good match as it'll keep those blends from bleeding. There we go. There is our deer. It's going to give him a few seconds to dry fully before I add the blends. So I'm going to glue these two guys together. These are just the layering circles. You could use squares or ovals or whatever suits your card desires. You could emboss a piece of it. I didn't do that. I just grabbed a circle out of my red scrap bin and made one to match here. So here we go. This is going to slide in. And then I've got our beautiful circle that's going to go on here. And we're going to color. I like to color first before I punch it out. It's just easier to handle that way. And I'm using the thick end or the brush end of the Stampin' Blends. I get better control that way. And to be honest, I start with the light and I move to dark afterwards. Soft suede would have been a good choice too, but it can sometimes be a little bit darker than I want. And so I just want to go kind of light with this guy. I'll add a little shading and leave it at that. Here we go. He's beautiful deer. And I think I might make this one with a red nose. Not using the punch, but actually using an embellishment that matches here. We have some red rhinestones in the annual catalog, so they're kind of cute. Okay, so I've added my color. Remember to close these up well, and I didn't show you because I did it so quickly, but there are 3 dots on your Stampin' Blends, and that's where you push it to open it. And that way the nub, which is especially on this end, the brush end, is longer and thinner at the end, and so you want to be careful not to damage it. And when you go to put them back in, there's an actual smaller circle inside. You want to sort of line those up and then push them gently closed. So I'm going to use the brush end to do the hooves, or the toes. That just adds a little bit more. And then I'm going to switch to the bullet end, or the thinner end, and this is what I'm going to use to add my shading. So I'm just going to add it around the legs, where maybe the fur would be thicker or show off a little bit differently. There we go. And then I'm going to go back in while it's dry with the bullet end of the light and just blend that. I'm not great at blending. I'm learning as you go, but I like the look of it. Kind of makes it look like fur. All right. So it's just a little bit darker underneath there. Oops. All right, next is to grab the punch, and we will punch this guy out. There we go. and on there. So this needs a little bit of dimensionals, right? We need to pop this guy up. Grab our dimensionals. Oop. A couple of the ends here. There we go. Add this to the front of our circle. Yeah, it probably would have looked nice embossed. I'm going to grab those red rhinestones because this is red. There's cherry cobbler in here, but it's mostly red on the side that I'm showing. So these are the red rhinestones. If you don't have them and you have regular rhinestones, whoops, you can take your Stampin' Blend that's red or any color and you can color them. So then you've got embellishments and ribbon that match your paper and projects. Pretty slick. All right. There we go. So when I go to put the circle on, I don't want to put anything over here. So that would be the top part of the circle. So I'm going to put my dimensionals actually on the pocket card. That's what I found was safer for me to make sure that I don't put them where I don't need them. So I'm going to literally make a bit of a triangle here with these pieces, and then when I go to put that on, I'll be sure and not have any to seal up the pocket part. That kind of defeats the purpose, doesn't it? There we go. And then if you wanted, you could add some ribbon to it. Certainly, however you want to dress it up. And that's our pocket card. There's both versions. I think they're kind of cute. Let me know what you think. And hopefully you'll give this card idea a go and try it out. I will be back on Wednesday evening at 7 again. I'm going to show you how to make a 3D project with a gift bag rather. And so this bag is a good size, 3 by 6 by 6, and holds lots of interesting goodies. Great. So thanks for being here. I appreciate it. And happy Thanksgiving to all my friends. I will see you on Wednesday. Bye for now.